Attention passionate Seattle Seahawks fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC West and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Seattle Seahawks' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Seattle Seahawks fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Seattle SEAHAWKS fans. Let's get to the news in what could be one of the most shocking and strategic moves of this NFL offseason. Whispers are growing louder that the Las Vegas Raiders might be willing to trade Max Crosby, one of their most relentless and impactful pass rushers, to the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Crosby is a cornerstone for the Raiders, a player who's been a nightmare for offensive lines across the league. But rumors are swirling that the Raiders, sitting at 4-11 and already out of playoff contention, are eyeing a major rebuild, especially after a tough season that exposed their weaknesses on both sides of the ball. And believe it or not, they're considering trading Crosby in exchange for a first-round pick in the 2026 draft and a second-rounder in 2027. That's a bold move, but one driven by cap space constraints and the desire to overhaul their roster. The Raiders are facing a hefty cap hit of around $25 million with Crosby's current contract, which is a significant burden for a team in the midst of a rebuild. They've also been prioritizing extensions for key players like Davante Adams, whose $30 million cap hit is already stretching their resources thin. The idea is to free up room to rebuild from the ground up, focusing on young talent and draft picks that can help them bounce back in the future. Trading Crosby could be seen as a way to accelerate this process, especially since the defensive unit has been leaking points, allowing an average of 28 points per game, and their offensive line has been struggling, giving up 45 sacks already this season. Now, let's talk about the Seahawks and why this move makes so much sense for them. Seattle, sitting comfortably at 12-3 and in the thick of the playoff hunt, is looking to strengthen their pass rush, especially with the injury to Nwasu, who's been a key piece for their defense. Adding Crosby could be a game-changer, providing the kind of relentless pressure on quarterbacks that can turn games around. Crosby, at just 28 years old, has been a dominant force in the league, especially in 2025, where he's registered 15 games started, with an impressive PFF grade of 79. 7 overall, ranking him 15th among edge rushers. His pass rush grade of 77.1, combined with a run defense grade of 78.7, makes him one of the most well-rounded edge defenders in the league. His stats are eye-popping. 10 sacks so far in 2025, placing him in the league's top 10, along with 42 QB hits, ranking him 4th overall, and 19 pressures. Crosby also has a couple of forced fumbles and an interception to his name, showcasing his playmaking ability. Throughout his career, he's accumulated 69. 5 sacks, pressured quarterbacks 231 times, and has a very high pursuit rate of 85%. His EPA per play, a crucial indicator of his impact, stands at -0.28, meaning he's often making plays that negatively impact the offense. His run defense is especially notable, with a yards per carry allowed of just 4.8, ranking him 30th in the league. But his ability to generate pressure and sacks is what makes him a perfect fit for the Seahawks' aggressive front. From a strategic standpoint, acquiring Crosby would be a massive boost to the Seahawks' pass rush. With Nwasu out due to injury, the pressure on other players has increased, and adding Crosby could bring an instant upgrade, projected to add at least 12 sacks, with his presence alone causing quarterbacks to feel uncomfortable in the pocket. His ability to generate QB hits could jump by 40 or more, and his presence would elevate the overall defensive EPA defense metric to around 3 per play. That's a game changer, especially in the NFC West, where every possession counts, and defenses often dictate the tempo. The potential impact on the Seahawks' defense would be felt immediately. Crosby's addition could lead to third down stops improving by around 15%, and turnovers could increase by roughly 12%. His history of creating stops, over 200 in his career, combined with the duo of Mafe, who's been rising with over 3 sacks per game, would give the Seahawks a fearsome duo capable of disrupting even the most experienced quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford. Imagine Crosby lining up across from the offensive line, forcing the interior linemen to double-team, freeing up other rushers to get home. It's a recipe for chaos for opposing offenses and a boost for Seattle's chances of making a deep playoff run. Furthermore, this move wouldn't just bolster the pass rush. It would have ripple effects across the entire defense, especially in the interior and on third downs. Crosby's ability to generate pressure would allow the Seahawks to dial up more complex blitz packages, confusing quarterbacks and forcing turnovers. The secondary, already solid with players like Woolen and Diggs, would benefit from the increased pressure, reducing the big plays allowed and improving their third down conversion rate. The Seahawks' defense could see a jump of 10% or more in EPA per play, making them not just a good unit, but a dominant one capable of contending with the best in the league. Now, let's take a moment to consider how this aligns with the Seahawks' overall strategy. General Manager John Schneider has been aggressive in building around a core of young talent, while also knowing when to make bold moves. Acquiring Crosby would be a statement that the Seahawks are all in on this season, aiming for another Super Bowl appearance. It's a move that echoes the Watt era of dominance, where a relentless pass rush was the cornerstone of success. With Crosby, the Seahawks would have a true X-factor, someone who can turn the tide of a game single-handedly. Of course, some might be skeptical about trading draft capital for a player of Crosby's caliber, especially since the Seahawks already have a strong roster. But in the NFL, sometimes you have to take calculated risks, especially when it can push your team over the edge. The Seahawks are in a prime position, having already secured the division lead, and adding Crosby could be the final piece needed to elevate their playoff chances significantly. Plus, with the NFC being so competitive, especially with the 49ers and Eagles vying for supremacy, every edge counts. The Seahawks' front office seems willing to do what it takes to maximize this window, and acquiring Crosby would be a bold yet strategic move. Looking at the broader picture, the odds for Seattle to win the Super Bowl could see a massive boost. Currently, the betting odds are at plus 1,500, but with Crosby in the fold, those could tighten to around plus 700, reflecting the increased confidence in their championship potential. The trade itself might be costly. Initially, some sportsbooks had odds as high as plus 5,000 for the Seahawks to win it all this season, but that could now drop significantly with Crosby's addition. For the Raiders, though, it seems like they're gearing up for a lengthy rebuild, with some reports suggesting they're looking at a slow process, especially considering the cap implications and the fact that they're already out of playoff contention. So what does this all mean for the Seahawks and the NFC West? Well, it's simple. Adding Crosby would make the Seahawks' defense one of the most feared in the league, immediately elevating their chances of not only making the playoffs, but also making a serious run at the Super Bowl. It would send a clear message to the rest of the league. Seattle is here to contend, and they're willing to make bold moves to get there. It's a move that could shift the balance of power in the division, leaving rivals like the 49ers and Rams scrambling to keep up. The NFC West is already one of the most competitive divisions, but with Crosby in the mix, the Seahawks could become the team to beat for years to come. And now, Seattle Seahawks fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential blockbuster trade? Do you think Crosby is the missing piece to push this team over the top? Or do you think the price might be too high? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Seahawks. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Seattle Seahawks news. And now, Seattle Seahawks fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Seattle Seahawks. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Seattle Seahawks news.